Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. All right, so let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about legacy-driven entrepreneurship, and I have an amazing guest with me, Jessica Koch. And Jessica is a podcast host, sales strategist, speaker, and legacy creation advocate. Jessica is a national sales strategist, podcast host, and I said all that. And she also has a founder of a virtual assistant agency specializing in automation, go high level, and custom AI task agents, which are so awesome. Her and I were talking about those. I was like, wow, they're so incredible. She helps entrepreneurs scale with purpose while creating a lasting personal and family legacy. Through her podcast, Profound Professionals, which I have been on and twice actually, and you have to go check it out. It's an awesome podcast. It's so much fun. I love the way she hosts it. She spotlights global change makers and fosters collaboration that multiply impact. Welcome, Jessica.
Hey, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love what you're doing. I think especially as the world has changed, being truly authentic and transparent and honest. I was just teaching an AI class before I came on here, and for a small government organization and their business entrepreneurs that they support. And I think it's important to use transparency when we're doing things that are automated or using AI, an AI voice or an AI created something, just letting the world know, hey, I'm able to scale how I serve you by incorporating these automated amazing tools and these other resources. But here's how I still show up for you humanly. And I think when people know
Right.
that, they're okay with it. They're not, it's not something negative. It's oh, okay, you're gonna support me more using this, but then I also have you in these other ways, right? And when they have that whole picture of authenticity and how you show up, whatever you're using or doing, then I think people are more receptive and open and easygoing to it and can adjust.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because people can get really defensive and sort of even some people get angry when you talk sort of about AI and stuff like that. One of
Mm.
my clients, he's sort of on the AI bandwagon, but it's also like a lot of his list is to do with writing. And so he talks about, like AI being tools to like assist you in idea creation. And it's more of your assistant. It's not writing your book for you. But as soon as anybody sees AI writing, they're like, no way, these are quite amazing, these angry emails that I see. And I'm like, whoa. But yeah, but if I really liked how you said that about, you tell people how you're supporting them and how you're using it because everybody does use it. So you can kind of get it. And you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah, that's fine. Like, yeah, I think that's great because I know that there are some tools out there where it's like you can get it to like call people and pretend to have this conversation as if it's you, but no one's actually being authentic or upfront about the fact that actually you're talking to an AI. And I always remember being like, oh, that doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, and that I think I remember the very first time I experienced that what you're talking about was I mean AI has been around us for so long. It's just in the forefront of the conversation in the last couple of years. But even prior to that, there was evergreen webinars, right? But there was software and technology to how can we make it look like it's real? So there would be a fake chat feed and fake attendees and fake. And I just kept thinking, this is not okay for me. I'm good with an evergreen webinar. I'm, don't think how silly or unintelligent am I to think that your webinar just happens to be showing up in 15 minutes from the time I signed up, how convenient is that for me? Or that I can choose a time. But to say that is, be real with me. Like, don't pretend there's 5,000 people at this event. Don't It's a recorded webinar. It's for my convenience. I'm interested in the topic. Just, I just never fell into the let's fake and pretend. And yeah, the AI conversation, it's almost a little scary because it's so real. They have them take a breath now. They have them and do human things that we do when we have a conversation. And it's important that it starts with hi, I'm Jessica Koch's AI assistant. I can have a conversation with you. I can answer a lot of the frequently asked questions, and I can support you in getting in touch with her more personally if that's the next step of what you really need. Let's see what you're looking for. Let's see what we can do next for you. And doing that is oh, okay, I'm talking to a robot. Well, this might be fun. Well, what can I ask it? What can I say? And then the person's suddenly in wonder. And what do I really want to do with Jessica? And does she need to be there for that? And does she have another tool that I could use in the meantime that I could get right now because it's 2 o'clock in the morning and she's probably not going to answer her cell phone, right?
Yeah.
So having that balance and that transparency, I think, can make it fun and exciting for our clients, especially ones who have heard about that exists but haven't experienced it yet. Oh, this is the way I
Right.
can play with it. This is a coach and a leader who's already using this tool. What is it like? And
Right.
thank and mentally and subconsciously we thank her for telling me right up front that this is what I'm up to. And this is what she's up to. And this is how part of how I'm being served, and because I do a
Mm.
lot of personal things, but I believe my community and the people I support and serve love me enough to want me to use things that'll allow me to be kayaking and on the beach with my family and hanging out with the bazillion family members that I have at their birthday parties, and but still serve them. Give me a chance to do both, and know that my heart's desire is to do both, is to be real and present and have a real relationship with my community and the people that I'm serving and collaborating with and working with in different capacities, but to also use automation tools, AI, and other things so that I can be living and creating the legacy that I talk about instead of working 24/7, trapped and strapped to a computer. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And as we were just talking about that, sort of that popped up in my head, like it's almost like what's the difference if you were to talk to somebody's assistant or their VA or someone on their team, like it could be an AI thing. And again, as long as you're transparent about it, then I
Mhm.
think people won't really have a problem with that because, you do talk to other people if you have to just get little things done and you know when you get the main person and what you get them for.
And you can give them an option, and you can even train the AI to say, if you're not comfortable talking with me as an AI agent and assistant to Jessica, how can I get you in touch with one of her human assistants or her herself? And here are some of your options.
Right.
So then give these people choices. Here's other ways you can work with us in our team. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. It's a great
mhm.
idea. So tell us about how you got, into this field of work and being this like amazing entrepreneur and just why you're so passionate about everything that you do and especially about legacy.
Well, sales itself, I've been in for eons and eons. I can remember my first experience literally making I didn't understand it was a sale at the time, but I was making a sale. It was, um, what is that? Huckleberry finning, the concept of selling an idea to a fellow classmate, literally in preschool when I lived in Maine. That is a true story. However, I then, in my adult life, even in high school and through the grade schools, I was very competitive with all the things you sold, wrapping paper and chocolates and things to do fundraisers for the school. And then really was in my first business experience of sales in high school. And then in my early 20s, went into radio advertising sales and all this. So sales has been my world. Running a business and thinking about the legacy piece has been something that has happened more in the last 10 or 15 years of my life than it did in my early days. I was just really excited and hooked on the concept of the thrill of the idea of a sale and salary and commission and the ability to have control over my income and all those things. But I did not have a desire for a business. And its need found me. The universe insisted. That's a bit of a longer story. This episode's only however many minutes, so
Yeah.
I'll just share my Jonah and the whale story. But henceforth, it was something that was meant to be because I did take one of the benefits of being really good at sales is I was able to take several years off after leaving a firm I was with for a lot of years. And I, at that point in my life, quite honestly, thought I would never work for anyone again. I would never sell anything again. I would never work for a business or be a business was so not on my radar. But ultimately, the short story is I taught a class for business community because they called the executive director of a chamber called 7 times asking me to. And I really do believe people matter most, right? And so I went and did that, and it kind of snowballed into the amazing space that I'm in now. I absolutely love everything I do and the people I work with and the people I collaborate with and the things I get to create and build. And it's very exciting and learn. I'm learning so much constantly about new tools and technologies and it just and how we can and how that allows us to amplify so that at the same time we can live the life we want now but build the legacy we want to leave later. And I think that is what excites me about what I do, so much more than the sales and marketing consulting, social media training. We got the VA agency, we got the NA agents, we got the podcast, we have all these things. That's all wonderful, um, but look how exciting life is right now that we get to and legacy is a lot of things. It's not just legacy, I believe, is really amazing legacy. The kind I'm striving for my family is generational wealth for 150 years or beyond of generations, right? And that's possible. There's people now, the Rockefellers and all of those big millionaire families that were from that time period, their families are approaching that level of legacy, 150, 160 years of generational wealth. And they also benefited the community, right, by building these amazing buildings and buying pieces of land that are now parks for the city and fountains that bring joy to the people that are in the parks to this day. And just really amazing things get to happen with real generational wealth and legacy leave behind, right? And it's not just for it's wonderful if it can be for hundreds of generations of our own family, but also for the communities that are touched there. But it's more than that. It's the history, right? Of the
Mm.
story of that business success that led to all that legacy. It's
Right.
the beautiful creativity, music and poems and the family tree and who went to what country and what did they bring back and who did they marry and what blanket they hand stitched or crafted or painting they created or book they wrote. This then becomes, imagine being able to say I am, the great 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 granddaughter of someone like a Napoleon Hill or someone who left a mark on the world, and is related to these people who inspire and excite, or from an amazing song artist with the beautiful vocal or someone who wrote the words to that song, and how that lifts the generations to come, just in a sense of pride and excitement. I just found out digging into my own family history that I'm not sure if it's the first, but one of the very few and very early first. Um, postmistresses maybe in my family aligned. So instead of the postmaster, the head of the post office in a community or network, it was a woman, right? That's really cool. And my
Yeah.
grandmother worked in that time where she was in the factories and managing and leading teams because the men were all off to war, and my grandmother
Right.
was there in that with the nuts and bolts and building the things and tools that were needed for what was happening in our country at that time, right? And that's interesting and exciting, and that's part of the legacy, but it's also generational wealth. So I think it's being able to enjoy all those things in the present moment and building it out for the future.
Yeah, we can tell how passionate you are about it. I know that you're even like creating an entire summit about it, which we can maybe
Yes.
talk about a bit later. Super excited about that.
Yeah.
So we kind of already talked about, being authentic, but do you think that we can reshape business to be more in integrity, especially as we were even talking about, like with AI coming out and also like I found just throughout COVID, there was so much lack of integrity, and many people kind of got burned for stuff like that. So yeah,
Mhm.
how do you think that we can start to reshape business to be more in integrity?
I mean, authentic and in integrity, I think starts with where you sit with it for yourself, like being in integrity with ourselves and keeping our own commitments and promises to ourselves and being authentic to who we are and what is the big picture of really what we want to do next. So someone was talking to me about, well, aren't you going to build this XYZ program? And then I had to decide, well, does it fit where I'm going? Right? It's almost like, do you want this dress? It's itchy, it's all wool, it's a turtleneck, and I'm headed to Hawaii. No, I think I'm going to pass on that dress. So you have to really decide, does it fit for you and where you're going? And then I think the rest kind of comes because when you start with yourself and you're really true to your values and you're really true to who you are and how you want to show up in the world and what you want to achieve and what the end journey is, at least for this part of the journey, right? Your next stopping point or big goal or big marker in the full journey. If you're headed there and you stay true to heading there and you let others know this is what you're about and what you're up to, and where you're going and why, and what your purpose is and your mission and all these things, then all of the rest of the integrity and authenticity comes into play. The other reason I'm really big about outsourcing and systems and automations and tools is because part of integrity to me is keeping true to my word and also my own personal desire. Like I might not say to you, Elisa, I want to follow your posts and I want to comment on them and I want to make sure I'm writing you recommendations and I want to make sure I'm showing up and sharing your world with my world and my community so that we connect and we can amplify each other. I can't keep my word to all of that or keep up on all the email or do all those tasks and things without a system for doing it that has some checks and balances in a place. And I have several accountability partners and pods and communities I use for accountability to keep myself on track for achieving what my heart's desire is and what my word says, because my word is very, very important. And I think a big part of what integrity needs to be is
Mhm.
keeping your word and having a team and tools that can help me do all the great, big, wide, wonderful things that my heart wants to do. Because I think a lot of times when we let ourselves down or when we let other people down and we don't do something we really wanted to do for them, it isn't because we're not a person of integrity or a person that's honest or kind or good. I think we have good intentions and bad systems and bad tools and things that aren't working for us. And sometimes, and I am so guilty of this, getting better every day, but we just want to put too much on our plate.
Mhm.
And I do this at a meal some days, and I do this in life and everything that because I want to enjoy every single bit of it. And I did something recently that was very hard for me. And it was someone says, don't you want to make a workshop with me? And my heart said, yes, I do want to make a workshop for you. But my little accountability partner in my own brain looked at the marker I'm trying to hit next in the path and said, but I probably shouldn't right now because I really need to stay focused on this next marker of achievement that I am headed to, that I know it's where I'm supposed to go, that I know it's the path that I'm on, and I need to leave space to allow myself to win and do the micro tasks along the path to get to that marker that have to be done, that take me orchestrating and leading my team and being present for that goal and being focused on that goal. I mean, do I say no to everything? No, but I'm starting to say, I really would like to do that, but can we schedule it for a time that's a bit better, that works, so that I can achieve this thing too and do this beautiful other thing you just opened this door or window for me to do with you. And that was tough. That was really,
Mm,
really hard for me to do. But I think it's
yeah.
part of us staying in integrity with that other person, because I could have done it, but then I wouldn't have been fully present or as good at it or promoted it as much as I should have, or whatever. I would have fell short of being the best version of me in all the things, right?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
a lesson that's hard for Jessica to learn.
And I think it's a really good point because, like, I don't know, I meet with a lot of people about, collaboration calls, or I meet them in JV events and things like that. And I have all these calls, and it's like, oh, yeah, how could we do that? And you want to sort of say yes to everything, or you kind of like a lot of people do. But you're right. Like, you kind of need to stay focused on where you're going with your own business and yeah, what it is that you want to do and see if that aligns. And sometimes it's just not a fit. And it's not because of them, it's just because it's just not right for your business.
I
So
think
what do
the
you
other
think?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say the other gigantic lesson I learned is it's okay to dream really, really big and want to do something really, really big. Like we talked about this thing that I have planned the coming. But what I learned is it's really important, and it's okay to allow myself a really big space to prepare, do, and set myself up for success to do something really, really big, because something really big takes a lot of steps, a lot of team,
Yeah.
a lot of process, a lot of systems, and that's all right. Because if you're trying to build, a giant cathedral, it's going to take longer than if you hired a builder to build a small church. And sometimes it's important to build something simplistic and manageable. And then sometimes you want to build something, you know, huge and glorious. But be prepared to give yourself the space needed to build the big, glorious thing, and don't expect it to take the same amount of time as something more simple and simplistic, right? And have space in your world for both of those things, right? Once a year, do the big, glorious thing, maybe. And, a couple of times a year, you can do some smaller, more simplistic things that,
Yeah, and you can even start with something simplistic and then build on it, and it can kind of eventually become that big glorious thing. You can
Mhm.
build on it bit by bit. Um, Sometimes it doesn't have to be some giant, huge bang at the same time. I remember like learning that with in software development, right? It was always about doing this like a beta first, or doing something that's an MVP, right? So it's like, or what is our minimal viable product here that we can actually like sell and use, and then build on that. And yeah, I remember in one of the companies we kind of made that mistake because we thought that this is where the company was going, and so really wanted to build the foundation super, super strong. So we spent a lot of time doing that, but then we weren't delivering anything. And they're like, okay, well, you need to start selling this. We need to, after a year and a half of building it. And then there's so much change with the company. And then it never happened. Like, I mean, it did for a little bit, but it never really, they completely changed directions of the company. And so it was like, oh, right, we should have just started with like an MVP and then really saw if it sold, if it started to make progress, and then, did all the things we needed to do, create that huge foundation that was needed, right? Like at the time, only a little foundation was needed. Something was needed for sure, right? You're saying systems, processes, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was an interesting thing to watch as we went through that. Um, yeah. So, what do you think is one of the first things that a business owner should outsource?
Well, especially if you're a solopreneur or you're wearing all the hats at the moment, and take a look at the tasks that you're doing throughout your day or throughout your week that um, if you're having daydreams that someone else is doing this for you, that's a good signal. If it's something that it's so fascinating. We all think, "Ugh, it's got to be my expertise. Only I could do it this way." That's often an illusion. But okay, for now, let's say list those things out. Those are the things that absolutely, absolutely have to be me. Now, what are the other things that have to be done that support me? And then making sure that you're recording it, even if it's just turning on your video camera, sharing your own screen, and talking to yourself through the system because that's the
Mm,
first step of knowing that one day someone else will be doing this because here's the training for it. Um,
that-
and
that's
so
a
I give you
great
full permission to talk to yourself. The other thing is think about what leads you to money making actions or collaborations or real relationships. What fills up your calendar, what tasks. So you go to a virtual networking event or you speak on a virtual summit. Um, then you have that chat or and now there's some great tools that will put that into a spreadsheet. But now what? Now it needs to be mapped and imported into your CRM system, whatever you're using, or you need to manually go through whatever social media people links weren't found need to be found. A reach out needs to be going to, don't add them. I'm just not saying spam them, don't add them to your email list, but do reach out to them with a single email communication or a single direct message in a social media to connect and have a conversation, to get on your calendar or attend your free webinar or get your free gift or something that brings them in to know you a bit more or for you to know them a bit more. And best of all, both of those that could go both ways, right? I think the
Mhm.
best scenario is you offer them something that allows them to learn more about you and you to learn more about them. A 15-minute one-on-one is not a one-on-one. A 15-minute is you demoing or talking about yourself. And maybe if they get two words in edgewise, it's a miracle. But
But yeah, I feel like everything you just described is something that could be outsourced, right?
mm-hmm.
Putting that
Yeah.
into the CRM, sending those emails, yeah, all that stuff. Because then what it sets you up for is for you having that call. So that's where
Yeah.
you are, and all the stuff before
Yeah.
that could be done by somebody else. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
All
yeah,
those micro
yeah.
tasks that lead to that final event of them getting to know you a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that can be like, on almost so many networking events I go to, they're like, the fortunes in the follow up and you got to do follow up. And everybody's, yeah, but that's where everybody falls down because of all those steps that you just described. And like that takes a lot of time. And so, yeah, you could definitely outsource that because nobody knows who did that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What you want to do is, yeah, have that conversation. So let's talk about legacy. So, what does legacy creation mean to you, and how can entrepreneurs start building one now?
Well, I just think about in my week because I do look at my week coming, and I am, like I mentioned, an accountability group, and I look at the tasks that are the most crucial for me to focus on and achieve that week. And usually there's at least three. And my hope is at least one of them is going to be related to something that will be here long after I'm gone. So if you take a look at that every single week for 52 weeks a year, and you're thinking, okay, these are the three tasks I really need to achieve this week. And at least one of them is connected to a book creation, writing something, creating a video, creating a training, creating something that will outlive you and be valuable to others even after you're gone. And so if you can just take that micro step to legacy, then that's huge. And that might just be, an hour a week or 2 hours a week of organizing some of your family history or, cataloging and organizing images of things that were handmade or created by your family or making an appointment with an attorney to talk about the different kinds of trusts that are out there, and what it takes to start one. Or, so there's different actions you can take that begin to lead to your legacy, that will have an impact on people when you're not here.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, like, as you were just saying that, I love that idea. Like, what is one thing that's going to build that legacy? And you focus on that in the week. But in order to make sure that you have time for that, we have to do what we talked about before was outsourcing the things, right? So it's like, that's also what outsourcing can help with, is that it frees up your time so that you can do that legacy work every single week. And even if it's only just a few hours, um, yeah, that can help you build it. I know some people they talk about that, like, oh, I really want to write a book. It's like, okay, how can I start? And maybe it's 500 words a day, and maybe it's 1,000 or whatever it might be. I know one person, she really wanted to do her book, and she's like, okay, well, the only time I have to it, if I'm committed to this, I got to get up at 5:30 and I got to do like my first whatever hour of the day. Like that's the only time that I actually have quiet time where I can do it. And so she did that, and she whenever her alarm went off, she had like a notification on her phone that said like, do you really want this? So it was like those days where she did not want to get up at 5:30 and start writing. And it was like, yes, actually I really want this. And it was almost like that reminder, like you said at the beginning of your week, what is that legacy thing that you really, really want, and how can you dedicate time to it? Where can you fit it in? And a woman I was talking about just this week said that too, about like 500 words a day. And she's like, oh, so I decided to batch it with something, right? It's like that forming the habit. She's like, oh, yeah. So every morning I have coffee and I sit at my desk. It's like, oh, well, what if I had she actually likes to like physically write, not type. She's like, I could have my pad and my paper right there. And as I'm having my coffee, I can write, so that's like building that, helping her write to have that book, which will eventually do the legacy. So, oh, well, this has been so great. And some sort of like takeaways that I've taken away from this is that, especially when we're talking about integrity, like, does it fit for you and where you're going? And I think that's a really good like way to have that. And of course, keeping your word is really much linked to integrity. And we talked about outsourcing, so teams and tools that can really help you build your legacy and also help you stay in integrity so you can keep your word. And outsourcing all of that can really help for you to start having time to build your legacy. And that I love that idea of every week, focusing it, like knowing what you're focusing on and having one of those things be about what it is that would create your legacy, and working on that every single week. So Jessica, where can our listeners find you online?
So I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. So Jessica Koch, and I'm also at our website, which is jessicalkoch.com. So L is for Lynn, my middle name, but jessicalkoch.com.
Awesome. And do you have any final words of wisdom?
You know, I think being present is hugely important. So be present every day. And I love the fact that being present in my moment today means that the actions I choose often will mean that I'll get to be present as a piece of my legacy is still here, even when I'm physically not. So be present in your moment while you're on this planet. Create things that'll leave legacy so that you're present even when you're not.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.